Hey, friends, welcome back to the Called to Lead podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing my friend Britt Behnke, who just did something really crazy huge and ranked to the top 12 in our company and built a team of over 1,000 people with 5 simple steps that she shows a brand new artist, or that's what we call distributors in our company, our artists. She shows them exactly how to start their business profitably and then builds confidence for other leaders in how they can do the same. And Britt is so generous to share exactly what she's done. And you're just going to fall in love with her heart because she was a former introvert who never felt like this was something that she could do. And she's done it by using the integrate method that we've been talking about on this podcast, but specifically going the route of the virtual party as the duplicatable step that can build a massive business both for herself and for her team. So buckle up and get excited for all the wisdom that Britt is going to share today. Yay. Okay, guys, y'all are going to fall in love with my friend Britt Behnke. You guys, she is just such a doll, and I've loved getting to know her a little bit more on my Seint journey, but she's done something huge here at Seint, something that actually less than 12 people in the entire company of 30,000 plus have ever done, and that's ranked to what we call Artist 8. And I'll share our income disclosure statement in the show notes so you can, number one, check out what that looks like because it's pretty special, but also you can know that it's not done without a lot of hard work. But we're going to dive into the episode where Britt is going to share her heart and her story, but also some really amazing tangible tips that you can implement in your business if you are wanting to grow a team of 1,000 people like Britt that is just absolutely exploding. So Britt, thank you so much for taking the time to be on today and share your story.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I was pumped when you asked me to do it. I can't wait.
I was pumped and I was so excited because she just, gosh, it's been, I think, a week, right, since the big happened. And I knew right away, I had told Britt that even though she's not on my team and we've met, of course, through Seint, but I didn't know her story well, but I could watch her and I knew what was happening and I knew that she was doing amazing things. And so the minute that she was recognized as hitting this monumental rank, which PS has not happened in like 2.5 years within our company, I was like, oh man, I got to know her story and I got to be prayerful that she will be willing to share it with all of you. So I am just so excited because I know in talking to you that the way that you've done this is a way that anyone, literally anyone, and I'm talking to you that's listening that feels like she's not a leader or the introvert that's scared to put herself out there, or definitely I know a big portion of my podcast listeners don't really want to grow an online following or become an online influencer in order to have to grow their business. And that's the best part about the way you've done this. So, Britt, I'd love for you to give us the backstory of just your life, where you're from, your family, and just kind of give us a picture of who you are before we dive into the business side.
Yeah, definitely. So I am from a very small town in Wisconsin. It is a little bit northwest of Green Bay. So we're Packers fans over here. We have a smaller, we are obsessed with dirt biking. We're a big dirt biking family. We have a little track in our backyard. My husband works full-time in IT, so he's my computer specialist behind the scenes. We just call it. I have a 15-year-old stepdaughter, Audrina. She is starting to drive and so scary. And I also have my son, Robin, who is 6. He's in kindergarten. He keeps us on our toes as well. Yeah, we're very family oriented. We love to spend time with my parents. We're always over at their house, especially in the summer, out on the lake.
And I know we were chatting about this when you first joined Seint, our company in 2019. Did you ever think you'd be where you are now, which is a team of over 1,000 women and growing? Did you ever see yourself there?
Absolutely not. I actually never saw myself in anything like social media wise, anything sales wise, just like that big aspect of things. I always knew that I wanted to do. Growing up, my family, my parents own a really big investment company where they also owned a family farm. So I was with the whole entrepreneurship growing up, and I knew eventually I wanted to do something like that. I just never knew what exactly and how I would get there today. So it's something really cool to see it happen, especially when you never really expect it coming from where it does. But also knowing that you wanted it, you just didn't know how or when.
I love it. You were telling me that you're introverted, right? So putting yourself out there or, to even training, leadership training, or like you said, social media, what do you feel like inspired you to maybe put yourself out there to get this thing started? Like, how did you even get started in your business?
So I got started, I was watching my friend Megan Garza. She was doing a Seint, or at the time, mascara video, and really got me intrigued with the makeup. The first time I tried it, loved it. And then from there, I signed up, and gosh, I had no experience with social media, like anything at all. And I was extremely shy. Like I was the one to be on the sideline of every like conversation. I would sit there and listen, but I would never speak up. I was always the one to wait and listen and that type of thing, never to take initiative and do things like on my own, right? So when it came to that, I'm like, all right, I bought this artist kit. I cannot let this just go to waste. I just spent money on this. I'm not going to let it sit here. So I actually started out with a Facebook party for my aunt, and I felt really comfortable going live in that group because it was like my aunt and her friends who I knew pretty well. So that first live video, of course, I was still like super nervous and really scared, but that really helped me, I feel like, get out of my comfort zone by doing that first video with people that I knew. So they knew who it was behind the screen a little bit.
I love that. So it's a baby step, which I know feels like a huge step for a lot of people to do something like going live, showing or demoing a product. Of course, we're in a makeup company, but that same principle applies for whatever it is that your company sells. And I know that it can be a scary step, but it can be such a huge step because how did you feel like after you did put yourself out there? And then I'm sure your aunt's friends like went nuts for it. Did you feel empowered, would you say, to tackle the next big scary thing?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like a ripple effect. You do the one live video and you're on such a high from that. And maybe something went totally wrong and, it happens, but it's still like you did it. And you're like, okay, I can do that again. And then you do a video somewhere else and you just keep taking those steps. And then, like you said, all of a sudden you're in these leadership roles and you host your own Zoom for the first time. And it is so scary. It's so scary being on a team Zoom and everyone sitting there watching you, waiting to see what you're going to say. It's like, oh, you guys don't put so much pressure on me.
I think so many women, it's like we almost think you've got to dream big, right? But I think so many women think too big. And I think they feel like I could never do even what you do or what I do. But what they don't realize is you didn't do your first team Zoom like right after you did that live, right? Like you did the first live, small group of women, and then you probably did another one right from that class. And then you've built your entire business and in your entire team on that principle of doing parties, on doing virtual,
Right.
primarily at the tiny town, virtual classes.
Yes.
So it took a lot of steps to get there to where you're actually doing a team Zoom where you're telling them how to do it, right? Would you say that's kind of like
Yeah.
what it looked like?
Yes, yes, exactly. And I mean, it takes that one step and then you just have to keep going and it just leads to so much more.
I think the best thing about the way that you started your business and the way that I know that you've now duplicated, not just to your team, but also to your leaders and their team, is the power of the party. And tell me specifically, like with your team, you teach that same process, right? Of what you did for your aunt or for yourself. Because was that your launch class, would you say? Was that your very first class as an artist? Was you doing that live and your aunt was the hostess? Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Back when I started, launch classes weren't really a thing yet. Like it wasn't, no one really did them. So it was just you're on your own here, figure out how to go about this. And I'm like, I'm going to do a party.
I love it. And one of the things we talk about on the podcast is like a lot of people, myself included, and you too, we start our business me focused, right? Like, how am I going to make back my kit investment? How am I going to put this out there to my friends and family? And then what happens when you're doing that in a very natural way, or you're doing it in a way that women feel like, oh, wait, I could do this too. She made that look really easy and she seems really nice and relatable. Naturally, women are going to come along that journey and want to do it too. And so then a lot of leaders wind up shifting their focus almost too much into their team or the them focus, as I've called it. They get in management mode. And so would you say from the beginning, were you more, because I think where you are now, and you don't get to where you are in the business without shifting your focus to the we phase, meaning you're still working your business. You're still doing the things that started and grew your business, but you're inviting your entire team to join you in those really simple steps of doing it. Like you've broken it down into 5 or 6 steps to get started in your business. So talk us through that. What does the power of we look like for you? And specifically, how have part been an element to that?
Yeah. So with our onboarding process as a team, we love to just keep things very simple. The quicker that we can have girls get going and get started and just make it really easy is what we've found super successful. So we broke it down into 6 steps. So the first step is getting to know their back office. So we have a really quick video on that. Then they go into creating a party link. Then they go into creating a Facebook group. And then from that Facebook group, we teach them how to invite people to their launch party, how to announce that they're an artist. And then we dive right into beginning their launch class and how to post in there, how to go live. And then from there, finding hostesses to do their own party host for them as well. Super simple, and keeping that easy duplication, I feel like, is really where we strive and how it just keeps us growing. So simple is better.
And you do this and you teach this in a private Facebook community for your team. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. We have a group that we utilize the guide section of our group. So they just go through and click through there to complete each section. And then once they're done with the artist 2 sections, then they can move on to the leadership section.
Okay, got it. So this is like getting started. It's 5 simple steps. And then what is super cool, and you mentioned this, is once you've done that, then you get more hostesses like your aunt or the fired up friend that was like, yes, say makeup, I want some freebies. And then that's how they build their business, right? That's how they get new customers, even if they didn't know. I'm sure you're like that way. Like there are 20%, like your town of 5,000, like you've got 1,000, 20% that's on your team. And they're certainly not all in your town, and you certainly didn't know them before. And so I think, so again, women think too big and they're like, I don't know 1,000 women. I live in a small town. Like this isn't possible for me. But the way you get to know people is finding those hostesses and building the businesses, right?
Yes, exactly.
Have you had any, I'm curious about this, have you had any pushback to people not necessarily wanting to do it either on Facebook or not being intimidated by the launch, like the launch words? Or do you find that people, if you just say, hey, this is what works for us, do these steps, do they follow it?
Yeah, I'm going to say for the most part, we've never really had any pushback. And there's the few girls who want to maybe do Instagram or TikTok, but I feel like they still then even start out on Facebook just because they're like, I guess that's where a majority of my people are, right? Like my friends and family are over on Facebook. So they like to get started there and then funnel over into different platforms as well.
I love that. And I think creative people, and one of the principles that I know I talk about in the course I did with Sarah Davies, the Replicate Your Results course, we talk about the creator versus the leverager. And about, I'd say 20% of people love to get really creative and almost reinvent the wheel. I'm actually one of those people. I love to almost make it too complicated because I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it differently and spend all this time recreating the wheel. But about 80% of people are leveragers, and they just want to be told what to do. They just want someone to say, okay, if you want to make it back your kit investment, do X, Y, Z. The cool thing about the 20%ers is if you give them the 5 or 6 steps to do it on Facebook, but yet maybe they are using Instagram or they want to do it in person, those people, they're going to get creative anyway. And that's the best part about the business model, is there is so much freedom in how you can run this business. But I know, and I know because you have exemplified that beautifully, that truly this concept of getting to know your back office, but only the basics, setting up a party link, creating a Facebook group. Do you do private or public? What do you teach on there?
We do public.
Public. Okay, perfect. That's me too. So a public Facebook group, and then you invite them to launch, and you're walking them through all those little steps. And then they post about the product, right? They share the power of the product, and then they go live, and then they do the whole process over again by generating hostesses. My brain just, but basically, like those simple steps you can do over and over again. And again, it has worked for 1,000 women on your team. So that is incredible. You should be so proud, Britt.
I'm so proud. Every single girl on our team, I feel like is as a leader, it's like you need all of these pieces, and like having that community is what just keeps you going. And it's so cool to see how it changes everyone else's lives too.
The cool thing about the Rank Up Artist 8 that you've hit too is you haven't just duplicated a bunch of people joining your team or a bunch of people selling the makeup. You've duplicated leaders as well. And I know you don't get to rank without amazing leaders. And I know specifically Jen and Carrie and Bonnie, you have some amazing leaders on your team that are a huge factor in this. But I think, again, women can almost think too big where they're almost focused on I need an artist XYZ, like whatever this high rank leader. Really, any company, and ours in particular, has what is called a foundation rank, which is the first leadership level. And it sounds like your leaders and you have really figured out once an artist is grounded in their first foundational basics of their business, you then teach them how to get to that next leadership rank, and you link arms together. You get to know them, you build that kind of culture and community, right, around that leader in building our business. And what that's done is it's duplicated a bunch of artist threes, which then create artist fours, fives, sixes, and sevens, and so on. So maybe talk us through that next step of how you teach someone to hit that foundation.
Yeah. And I think that brings me back to the simplicity. So I feel like a very intimidating thing for the leadership is training someone else. Like maybe someone I knew myself, I'm terrified of bringing on someone else. So having that really simple 5-step system for launching a new artist gives these girls the confidence to be like, okay, like that was really simple. I can just plug my new artist into these guides and it's all taken care of, right? The leader artist doesn't need to know everything in order to bring on a new artist. I think that's one of the most important things is we just give them the confidence that they can be a leader, even though you don't have to know everything.
Oh, I love that. I do think you're right that I think what holds people back from that leadership phase, whatever leadership it is, they feel like, again, like you did at the very beginning of, I don't know what to tell them, or I don't feel like I'm necessarily a leader. I don't want to train them. And what's cool about your system is people, they don't necessarily always do what you tell them to do, but they'll do what they see you do. So if they know, oh, she tagged me in this guide and I followed these steps, that's all I have to have someone do if they join my team. Okay, I can do that. And it gives them the confidence to share their experience if and when somebody does decide to join them in business. And then they've got that process that's very simple for the onboarding that I think it starts with that confidence, basically, for them to feel like they can do this. So would you agree that's like the differentiating factor is less teaching them some magic trick, but more showing them that it's really easy to bring someone on and help them make their kit investment back?
Yes, exactly. That's what we're all of us as we have like you said, we have a really strong leadership team, and we're always striving to figure out how we can help girls grow into leadership more and just keeping that flow.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Now, how do you balance? And I know there will be people listening because you and I are on a bigger part of a bigger team. So, how, in terms of creating a smaller culture outside of the bigger team culture or even the bigger team systems, because I know you even had a hand in making some of the systems that are available to anyone on this massive team that makes up about 80% of the company. So, how have you, and what was maybe the deciding factor in bringing that energy maybe into a smaller community within your team?
I'm going to say, so we started utilizing the Big Artist House website and everything, and we tried it out. And from the very beginning, I feel like as a team, we've had a really like close, tight-knit like community where we're chitter-chattering all the time. We have really great connections with each other, and we're like, okay, we're going to give this a try. We love the layout. We love the simplicity of it. And then I felt like started to stray a little bit and not feel that connection so much. So we're like, okay, we're going to bring this back. We're going to reassess everything. And so that's when we decided to start utilizing the guides. And I think just building the guides as a leadership team really brought us closer together in that community that we knew that we needed to bring back. So just creating something on our own like that was really empowering and something that we loved so much. Like when we posted those guides, like we were all so excited. Like everyone had a little part in making a different unit, and just doing something together like that really, really brought the team together, and it created that culture that we were missing a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being honest with that because I know I totally threw that for a curveball. And I know from being, again, a part of that group, I've seen that same thing too. And what's really crazy is I feel like what you guys went back to is absolutely exactly how I built my business, probably to Artist 8, because I think it was about when I was Artist 8 that we started creating the Artist House, the bigger team systems for it. And I think that there's power in embracing or leveraging, if you will, certain team systems at different levels in your business. And I know you can't get to Artist 5, 6, or 7 without creating a community or culture. And that can't be done with 25,000 women, what's within the Artist House. So you've got to make it smaller and find ways to build that connection piece if you want to get to that level. And I think it's really important and awesome that we have those systems and tools available for maybe artists who aren't there yet, or artists like me, or even potentially you when you feel comfortable, who maybe want to build up new leaders, again, new artists, 4s and 5s and 6s, who will then create their own microcultures and empower them to do exactly what you've done. And then you can in turn kind of step back and leverage the other things so that you're not necessarily always having to be that leader that's doing all the things, because you're empowering other leaders, if that makes sense. And so I think it's really important for people to hear your heart, and that number one, you gave it a shot. You weren't like, nope, I'm going to dig in and do my own thing. You were like, you know what? I feel like for us, we need that culture piece. And you got, again, creative, and it wasn't just you either. That's the other thing I love about what you said is you weren't just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to spend all my time creating these guides and I'm going to do all these videos and I'm going to post them. No, you got your leaders on board. You got your leadership team. Like you said, you all came together and they all had a hand in creating them. So then guess what? They're going to use them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So do you feel like, I guess, what is next for you? We were chatting a little bit and leaders are duplicating like bunnies over on your team, which is so exciting. So is that your goal next, is just to build up more now that you've mastered the basics of getting them to Artist 2 and then helping them get to Artist 3? Maybe what's your strategy or your focus in terms of building larger leaders within your team?
I guess we have a lot of up and coming artists, 4s and 5s and 6s. And I feel like really focusing in on them and helping them emerge into that leadership role, and feel like doing the calls and doing the one-on-ones with them and making them feel more comfortable and confident in growing into the higher leadership, and taking into, I feel like a big thing that we missed a little bit was like leadership, how to train on becoming a leader. Because like you said, it's not something that you just fall into, and growing into it's a scary thing. And I feel like there's not a lot of training on, okay, you're an Artist 5, what should you be doing, or how are you going about things, or how do you communicate with your team? And so I feel like really working with our girls that way is our next step in helping us get bigger and get those 6s to 7s and just keep moving, keep the momentum.
I love that. And so it sounds like it's like those baby steps you had to take, or you have to encourage your new artists or your new leaders to do. It can be just as scary to step out in some of these higher level leadership things. And plus, I think women see other people doing it. And there's so many ways to do the leadership side of things, right? There's so many people that maybe team up with someone. And so then some people feel like they have to have a partner to do it. Or you might have a leader that kind of decides she wants to leave the nest and fly away. And that's a beautiful thing too, because a lot of times leaders at higher ranks will have a leader that either outranks them or someone that's near them. And I love that it sounds like you're encouraging them to do the scary leadership things and empower them to feel confident, just like you would a new artist. It's just the actions are different. Is that right?
Yes, exactly right. Yep.
Okay, I'd love to wrap up kind of chatting a little bit about social media, because this is coming on the tail end of a segment that I've been doing on the podcast where I've shared 4 different strategies of how to leverage social media to build your network marketing business. And so just a quick summary, the ignore method is not using social media at all. So that's focusing on things like in person or building referral network marketing, like that kind of stuff. The next one is the integrate method, which is what I think fits beautifully with your strategy of having a private Facebook group and creating a community of people who want to try the makeup or who already love the makeup. And that is having either a private or a presence online, but it's more of you're sharing your family, right? And your farm life and your dirt biking and your Packers stuff. And then you integrate the business here and there. I'm having a class this week. Who wants to come? And then there's the investment strategy, which that's the one that I just, shared about last week, which that's more building a following based on just sharing the product. So that looks like creating a separate business Facebook page or an Instagram that's literally sharing all tips and tricks on where to put contour placement and things like that. And then finally, the last one is the influencer, which is what inevitably when you have a team your size or when you build as many happy customers as you have, naturally, you do tend to build a little bit of a following, whether you're an influencer or not. But that's essentially growing a following in order to grow your business, which is a whole other can of worms. So I'm super curious because I know I shared that graphic with you before we chatted. Do you agree that your strategy and maybe the way that you've run your business personally, where do you see it fitting into one of those 4 buckets, or does it fit into that?
I would say definitely the second one where I'm present on social media. I'm not solely focused on Seint. I'm not solely focused on it. I'm just integrating everything and just being there. So definitely there.
So do you post on, I haven't even looked, but I'm going to stalk you. Do you post on Instagram a lot? And yeah, you've got 34. It's okay that I'm sharing this, but yeah, like 3,400.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a small amount, but again, you've got 1,000 people on your team, and I'm sure probably more customers than that. Because how much makeup were you recognized for selling? Just so we're all clear at the reunion, how much makeup have you sold so far?
For the sales club, 430,000 lifetime sales.
In 4 years. That's the other thing I wanted to make sure, you guys, when Britt joined, it was not at the beginning, okay, like me. And I get a lot of people say, oh, you got in early or you joined at the very beginning. But you guys, there are a bunch of people that I know that joined long before Britt did that are nowhere near where she is in her business. So that's definitely not like the reason why she is where she is because she, quote, got in early at all. It's definitely just duplicating the efforts that literally got her started 4 years ago in the business. But wouldn't you say you probably have about that many customers, probably like thousands of customers to get to that?
Yeah.
Customer Instagram followers. Yep. So again, you've grown a following not to build your customers, but you've grown a following based on the connections that you've made in sharing the product through something like a class, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do now? What's your strategy? What does a week in the life of Britt look like in terms of your personal business and your team? What does that look like now?
I feel like I really focus on my personal sales and business. That always comes first to me because I feel like I always want to be continuing to grow my front line. So I'm always looking for new customers, always looking for my new artists to bring on. So focus on my personal business, still doing Facebook classes. I host 2 Facebook classes a week forever now. That's where I find my sales. I have my beauty group on Facebook that I use for my recurring customers. So posting in there, going live in there. As for social media wise, I story a lot. I use Instagram stories. As posting wise, I'm just like, sometimes I decide that I want to post my minimalist lifestyle, and other days I don't post for 2 weeks. And it's just kind of sporadic. But my one pod, like I have to, is my parties in my beauty group. That's where you'll find me all the time. So doing that, and then that takes up a majority of my week. And then my other times I'm connecting with my team and we're planning different events. We are figuring out where we need, maybe girls are struggling with content wise. So we need to throw some content in our content channel, or maybe we need to work up another team building event if we're struggling to get new artists, or if we are struggling for sales, like how can we do some type of challenge to get these girls sales coming in and giving them different ideas to run their business. So it's a little mix of both, but I feel like even at this leadership level, your personal business should come first because you want to see your team doing You want to show them like, this is what I want you to be doing. So if I'm not in my beauty group and they're not seeing me post in there, they're like, oh, I guess I don't have to do that. Or if they don't see me on my stories posting my before and after every couple days, that they're like, oh, Britt's not doing it, I guess I don't have to do that. So just showing up, being the artist that you want to grow, that's who you have to be as well.
Oh my gosh. I love that. So the last thing I want to ask you is, I know you said that your hubby's your IT guy, but I do talk about a lot of like kind of tech tools and things like that to grow your business. I'm curious, a couple questions would be, number one, do you use anything specific with your parties for posting like Visly or boards or some sort of app to make when you're doing 2 a week to make your life a little bit simpler? We'll start there.
You don't. I don't. And everyone thinks I'm so crazy. I just do the old fashioned copy and paste, upload every individual picture, video from my computer. And I am so old fashioned that way, where I've been like by party tools before, I've been burnt. And I feel like sometimes like it just messes with not only like myself. I'm worried that these things aren't posting or not being in order, but I also am very particular in my parties about personalizing them. So I don't want the same things rolling every single party that I have. Like I cater each party to the guests that are in that party. So I'm not posting the exact same thing every week.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is amazing. And I love it because my brain only thinks in systems and it's a problem sometimes. It's almost too like we can't be robotic again. We have to be creative and we have to be personal and we have to create those connections. I do think, however, you should totally look into boards if you haven't yet. It will change your life because it's free and it's basically just a place to corral it. And do you use your phone or a laptop when you post?
I use it on my laptop. Yeah.
Your laptop. And it works both. I'm doing my Facebook relaunch literally right now, partly inspired by you, my friend. I want you to know that. So I'm doing a little VIP or launch in my VIP group that I've had for years. Cause again, I used to do these things, but of course I took a year off of Facebook, of social media and so I'm coming back by doing exactly how I would tell a new artist to start her business. And I'm using boards to do it, which is basically copying and pasting, but it's in one simple place and you can share it with your team too. So even if it's not the exact same thing, and I am doing exactly what you're saying, I'm like going in and I'm like tweaking it and personalizing it and thinking, is there another graphic that might be better or changing it and things like that. So I love that. What about with your customer follow-up? Because again, you've got thousands of customers, you've sold hundreds of thousands of makeup. Do you use any kind of automations or anything to service your customers on the back end?
I am with EMS. I do use.
Awesome. Okay. And
I've been with.
I'm sorry, you keep going.
Yeah, I've been with them for a year now. And gosh, I just love it. It's taken so much little things off of my plate that I feel like it was a really good move and good investment for my personal business to open up and give me more time in the areas that my business needed. So I love it.
Okay, awesome. And for anybody listening that doesn't know what that is, EMS, actually don't know what it stands for, but I know Justin and Michelle that run that. They are amazing. Michelle and I were just chatting actually at our reunion, and I'm going to bring her on the podcast to interview to discuss it. And it's a little bit of an investment. Again, that's taking the investment route in your business, but someone who's at your level of income and volume and customers, it can be one of the most amazing aspects to give you the confidence to continue doing 2 classes a week, right? To feel like you can actually serve these people well. And it does duplicate for, again, those like 1-2%ers who are at that investment level or the influencer level in their business, which I would say one thing that shameless plug here, but I have finally wrapped up and finished my automations course called Automate to Replicate. And I haven't officially launched it yet. For anybody that's listening that wants to check it out, you technically can go to heatherkburge.com/automate. And it's the same systems, but on a smaller level using Project Broadcast, Flowdesk, Jotform, Zapier. And it's a way like for maybe those girls, like I would never tell someone over that's selling more than say $5,000 of their product a month, they need to go with EMS all day long. You have the income and the time, or you need the time for other things, I should say, to pay Justin and Michelle to set that up for you because they'll do a beautiful job. But for anybody that's not there yet, but maybe they work full time or they're like me, a busy business owner or something that maybe doesn't have the time and they might have that little bit of extra investment because it winds up being about $35 a month. And then the course right now is $97. It is something that for Seintartist. It is free for Seintartist. So I've passed the code out at our reunion. So if you or anyone you know is a Seintartist, get with your leader to get that little snazzy code for Seintartist. But for anybody else, it's actually only $97. So that is something that I'm really excited about. It's actually what I use in my business because I'm not there yet, girl. I sell on average about 3,500 a month, but I'm looking to get where you are because I know it can be done. And it all starts with that first launch class, right? Which is what I'm doing this week.
Exactly. Yep. And I love that because if I would have had something project broadcast a year ago, gosh, that would have been, it would have been a game changer in follow up and that type of thing and automation. So I love that. Definitely something that I'm going to be sharing with my artists.
Awesome.
Cool.
Happy to chat more about, and I'll be sharing more about that when I'm ready. It's been so nerve-wracking to put it out there, but people are working through it and they're having success with it. I'm like, it works. And so I'm so excited to officially put it out there. Hey, now is as good of a time as any, right?
Exactly.
I cannot tell you how inspiring you have been to me from afar. And the fact that I've gotten to know you better through this, and the fact that you've been so gracious to abundantly share all of this wisdom and knowledge, I know I'm thankful. And I just know everyone who's listening to this is just what I needed. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad I got to come on and chit chat.
Awesome. Where can people find you? I know they can follow you right on, maybe you'll get to 3,500 followers on Instagram at Britt, Behnke, right? BRITBEHNKE. But where else, if somebody wants to find you, can they find you?
My Facebook page is just Britt Behnke, and then I have my beauty group as well, which is Beauty with Britt on Facebook.
Okay, awesome. Thank you again, Britt. And if you're listening to this and you want to ask a question, we have the Called to Lead community, which is over on Telegram. And if you have more questions, if I forgot something for Britt, I know where to find her on Telegram so I can ask her. So hop on into that community. And you can always text the word podcast to my project broadcast cell number, which is 912-405-8912. And that'll get you plugged in right to that community. And I can't wait to see what you guys thought about today's episode. So thank you so much again, Britt. Have a great week.
Thank you too. See ya.